Welcome to EntreProgrammers Podcast, the podcast for developreneurs, the podcast where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of three developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
There we go. We're on.
Yay! Awesome.
Chrome seems to have fixed whatever bug was preventing my my mic was not detected. For like the longest time, I had to plug it directly into my computer. So now I have my USB hub again.
Nice.
So John and Manny are at Thrive conference today, which is not in any way related to Thrive Cart or Thrive theme or Thrive leads, I don't think. So
I had somebody recommend that conference to me. But
yeah, I think John's been there 3 times now, so it's apparently it's pretty good.
It looks really interesting because it looks like it's about basically using your money and influence for good causes and things like that. And that's definitely a direction I want to go in. So
yeah,
and it's right in my backyard in Las Vegas. So
that is not in any way in my backyard. So
no. Yeah, it's like a 4 or 5 hour drive. Yes, I have a lead foot. I think if you map it on Google Maps, it says it should take 5.5 to 6 hours. Yeah, nice. I'm always cruising. But yeah. This week I recorded 14 podcast episodes, and then this is my 15th, and I have 3 more this afternoon.
Oh my gosh. What are you doing?
So Michelle had trouble getting our past guests from the related shows onto the My Story shows.
Uh-huh.
And I thought about it, and I'm like, I really want to tell people stories. They don't have to be previous guests. So I sent an email out to my mailing list, and I had all kinds of people sign up. Nice. And that was last week when I sent that email. So this week, I had 4 people sign up for my JavaScript story. I had 4 people sign up for my Ruby story, one of them twice, so I canceled one of those. I had 2 people sign up for my Angular story. Oh, wait, I missed 2 other my JavaScript stories, and I already had a my Ruby story booked with one of our past guests. So, and then I have all the regular shows. So
wow. So for the My Story ones, are you like interviewing them and getting their how they got into the?
Yeah, it's 20 minutes to a half hour. Some of them have gone longer, but I think the longest one I've done is like 50 minutes.
Okay.
But I've only done like 1 or 2 that are even close to that long. And so I asked them how they got into programming, and then how they got into Ruby, JavaScript, or Angular. Talk to them about what they've worked on, So with some of the folks that aren't contributing to like open source and things, it's like, okay, well, what kinds of projects have you done? What kinds of companies have you worked for? Things like that. And anyway, so it's been interesting. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from people because they're like, you got somebody on who I identified with, as far as where they are or were at with their coding journey. And they talked about something that really helped me kind of get unstuck with whatever I was working on. I'm like, sweet.
Nice.
So
how are those? So you just launched those recently, like in the last year, right?
I launched those about the end of 2016.
Okay.
Beginning of 2017. So I've been doing them for a while. And yeah, I just opened it up, and I'm really actually pretty happy with the quality of interviews I'm getting from people. So it's been fun to do that, and I'm getting a pretty diverse set of people. So some people are new to the industry, but are not new to the world, so to speak. They're not in their 20s or 30s; they're in their like 50s. I've gotten some people who have been doing this for a long time, who are in their 30s, and I've got people from all over the world. It's been really, really, really amazing. Oh, and I even got some women for people who care about that aspect of diversity. Personally, I think the more interesting aspects of diversity are the ones that you can't look at somebody and immediately pick out, right? Because those are the things that actually inform the way they think and the way that they interact with the world. and most of those are cultural, not physical.
Right.
And so, some people are, they're raised in different areas, and so they're going to be racially diverse, and they're going to have cultural diversity because of being raised where they were. And so that other kind of diversity kind of goes hand in hand with how they think about things. But
right.
I honestly I can't bring myself to care about somebody's skin color or what they hide with their pants. I'm much more interested in how they think about these things and how they solve particular problems and what they're doing to advance themselves.
Right.
And everybody does that a little bit differently. So
right. Yeah, yesterday I did 2 interviews with students of Jason Humphrey's, and one of them was a chemist, a former chemist who got into programming, and the other one was he ran like a high-end resort. Like he was like the customer service guy, kind of the face of this customer facing face of this high-end resort that was devastated by a hurricane a couple of years ago, and found his way into programming. So having those kinds of experiences brings more diversity to a team than 2 people who have different skin color who went through the same path, both got a comp sci degree and ended up working for the company.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my JavaScript stories was with a woman who currently lives in Arizona, but she went to New York City to go through a boot camp. She's a South African immigrant, and she immigrated with her husband. He immigrated here to get a job. And so she's telling me about immigrating from South Africa to the UK and then to the US because she couldn't immigrate directly. And, essentially she also mentioned, so when I got into programming, I looked at the options and I decided that I wasn't going to go back to school for 4 years because I already have a PhD in physics and I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
So she went to a boot camp for 6 months, right? And that worked. And so it's that kind of thing, it's wow, you've really lived, and then you know what you want, and this is getting you what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a different perspective. So
that's very cool. Well, it sounds like, those podcasts actually sound more typical of how most people. I think your panel discussion podcasts are somewhat unusual.
They are. I'm trying to get on that, but some of these communities they become extremely culturally homogenous. And so it makes it a little bit difficult to, it's like, okay, well, what about this? And then, well, that's a React thing or something, you don't get quite that strong a response, but and I really do want the perspective of, no, that was hard and we solved it this way. And that was also hard, but it made more sense for us. And, we're going to break your brain explaining how we did it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want out of the panel discussions, but we don't always get there. We do get some of that on the JavaScript Jabber, because Chris Ferdinandi is very outspoken about not using frameworks.
Oh,
he basically, he'll concede that it's the right tool for the job sometimes, but he maintains that it's fairly overused. And
he can just walk into any room and start a fight then.
Well, he's the vanilla JS guy, and he brings just an interesting perspective, but it's so well thought out that it's like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. And then AJ O'Neill, he hates the idea of ES6 and beyond. He just wants it ES5 and that's it.
Okay.
And he kind of dives deep on some of these internal systems, and so it's pretty interesting to have his perspective too, right? And then Joe Eames does like Pluralsight videos and things like that. So he's got his own perspective that's very front end focused. And Amy Knight has kind of dabbled in a lot of this stuff. And, she just has this really bright and fresh outlook on JavaScript. And so we definitely get some diversity there. But some of the other podcasts definitely have more of a, everybody's done different interesting things, but none of it really conflicts.
Yeah. I could definitely, like, if just hypothetically thinking about a .NET podcast that was a similar format, it seems like it would go the same route as what you're describing. Like there'd be some disagreements, but there'd be a lot more probably agreement than disagreement.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, they're still good shows, and I get people telling me that they're still, oh, well, you discussed a thing that I never would have looked at, and I realized that it was the answer to at least one of the things that I've been trying to fix, or implement or something like that. And then others of them, it was just like, it just made me think around problems in a different way. Good, I'm glad. That's what we're after. So, but I've gotten a lot of clarity on what I really want from this. Just from talking to you guys, getting up at the crack of dawn so that I can be on a coaching call with my business coach on Thursdays, and just talking to people for the My Stories. It's anyway, the clarity that I've gotten is I'm really big on freedom, really, really big on freedom, and I want to help other people find freedom. So this was something that my coach did. He made me come up with a mission statement. This 15 words or less. And so it was hard, but what I came up with was essentially that my mission is to liberate software developers to build cutting edge software that makes a difference. And it's like, and that liberate part is a big, big thing. So I'm actually going to go back to the drawing board with some of the podcast scheduling stuff and say, okay, we're not just scheduling stuff because it's cool. We're going to schedule stuff because it helps people, get free from the stuff that they don't like or don't want to do, or, is making them unhappy or getting in the way of them contributing in the way that they want, so that they can go build the cutting edge software that they want and make a difference in the way that they believe they should. And, and so I'm working through all of that. And I feel like the My Story episodes are kind of the freedom episodes, right? It's here's how people significantly made their lives better by finding something they loved and really going after it. But the other thing is that I also realized that for my own freedom, I'm going to be working very hard over the next 3 months. I really want by December to have this all taken care of, so that I can actually step back from almost all the podcasts that I'm doing. And I have basically 1 or 2 podcasts that I want to do, and they don't exist yet. So one of them is the Developer Freedom Podcast, right? And, just talk about, okay, what are the things that are holding you back? What are the things that you want to be doing, and just talk about either the things that inspire people as far as what they are capable of doing, and then talk about, okay, so you have a boss that's a jerk. Well, here's some ideas on how to work with them, and here's some ideas on, maybe it's time to change jobs, or here's some, and so you can create this level of freedom. Because once you've been in the industry for a while, you can pretty much go work wherever you want. Senior developers really don't have a hard time finding a job unless they're really, really remote, and their skills don't line up with any of the companies that are looking for remote people. But even that's becoming less common. So anyway, that's the one podcast I want to do. I think I do want to do another one where it's basically career, so getting a job and career advancement, specifically focused. And then the last one I want to do is on podcasting, and same kind of focus on freedom and podcasting. And then I really want to change my focus over so that I'm building PodWrench, like we talked about last week, building PodWrench, building the concierge service, and then just making all that work, because I'm really, really enjoying that. I'm also really enjoying the book. I wrote 5,000 words in the book yesterday.
Whoa, nice.
But but that's what I want to do.
I think at that speed, Chuck, it's no longer called writing; it's called downloading.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. I am. I'm just downloading it to the.
It might only be like a 15 or 14 kilobaud modem, but you're still downloading.
Yeah. So anyway, I know I'm talking a lot, and I'm not really asking for advice, because I really just I've gotten a really clear idea of what I want to do. And so now it's just a matter of getting it all done. The only issue I really have is time. And like next week, I have a similar recording load to this week. Not quite as heavy, but similar.
And
then
the reason you got these crazy, are you trying to build a backlog, or are you just unexpectedly
both?
put yourself
It was
in
a little both. I am trying to build a backlog because then I can just not push it. But the other thing is if I can step in and I can get like the scheduling piece is the thing that I'm working on right now in Podwrench. If I can get that nailed down, what I really want to do is I want to hook it all in so that when people schedule, it goes into Podwrench and sets everything up. And hey, here's how you prep. Here's how you give me information so that I can prep. And then it does all the follow up with them. And once I have that done, the other thing I can do is I can also automate things. So it's like, hey, if we're not 8 weeks ahead or 6 weeks ahead or whatever, then then prompt me to send another email out, right?
Right.
And so that's part of the setup that I want to do, and that way it just really becomes this automatic system. And so I mean, my Ruby story, I think I have a backlog through the end of the year at this point on releases.
Oh wow.
Or I will by the time I finish recording this week. And next week I have 2 my Ruby story episodes, and so I'm really set up well on that. My JavaScript story got booked. I got booked out pretty heavily, and so I'm going to be way ahead on that. My Angular story, I'll probably be a month ahead by the time I'm done. So then I can just email the Angular segment of the list and just say, hey, I need some more folks. Keep pestering the core team and stuff like that. But then I'm traveling for 2 weeks. I'm going to be in Orlando and then Park City. And then I'll be back at it. But I think my week in Orlando is when I'm really going to be able to buckle down, and I'm either going to finish the book or I'm going to make serious headway on Podwrench. But I really want to get one or the other done because splitting my time kind of sucks.
Yes.
And then I can just focus relentlessly on one thing. But I've got people that have pre-ordered the book, and so I feel like I need to deliver it. And it's part again of that freedom discussion, right? It's hey, and I'm probably going to change the title of it. It was Get a Coder Job, and it was focused on newer developers. But I'm finding that as I think about it more, I really want to think about it in terms of freedom and helping people find good, solid jobs that they're looking for. And so it's going to be more about finding your dream job and less about, I'll definitely have marketing material aimed at new developers, but the process is going to have like outtakes in it for new developers. If you're new, here's what you need to be focused on. If you're remote, here's what you need to be focused on. And then if you're just doing the traditional job search and you're an experienced developer, just do the regular thing, right? So anyway,
so you got 3 tracks.
Yeah, but the thing is that it really only varies as far as here are the things that you're trying to get across in your resume, and here are the things you're trying to get across in your interview. And for remote folks, it's kind of the same deal, right? You're not just telling them that you're a good programmer, but you need to let them know that you can work unsupervised and that you are really good at communicating even when you're not in person. And then the rest of it, if you're getting hired to go into an office every day, you don't really have either of those issues where the new people need to let people know, hey, I learn quickly, I'm really driven, and you will be delighted at what you wind up with after too long. So but so that's really what I'm doing. And it's just the time management stuff sucks. And I've been telling people no. I keep getting emails from people, hey, can you help me with, because I've been very heavily involved in like Boy Scouts and a couple of other things. And like they want me to teach at the Commissioner College in a month. They want me to get involved in a couple of other initiatives, and I just keep telling people nope. Because I can't. I gotta get this other stuff rolling. And the thing is I hate saying no now, but if I say no now and I get all of this stuff automated and things like that, then I can get to the point where I can start saying yes to these things because I've got these systems running everything for me.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. One thing that I am struggling with, maybe you have ideas on this, is I'm trying to figure out exactly where Michelle fits into the business, because I think I want to hire somebody to manage all of the sponsorship sales now.
Okay.
And so she's been handling all of the other stuff like scheduling people to come on the show and stuff like that. And, I can keep handing off more and more stuff to her, but I don't know. Part of me thinks that I just kind of need somebody to be dedicated to sales and account management, and just find some part-time person that can do that.
So is the question, like, should you try to hand that off to Michelle?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I should hand that off to Michelle or if I should just hire somebody else and then have her manage all of the production and stuff. And I think I'm also just going to give her a freer hand, because I've been saying, this is how we do it, make it happen. And I think I'm just going to say, look, I don't care how you do it, make it happen.
Well, document it.
Yeah.
Make it happen and document it.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think there's some parts of the sponsorship stuff that could be handled by a non-skilled person, but then there's other parts that are going to require a skilled labor. So it would depend how, like, I think you do need somebody who's going to have that skill set.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it would depend, like, whether she might be able to. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see, because you got to be able to build a pipeline. Like, that's really a whole skill set.
Well, the things that I see that I can more easily hand off is like the initial outreach. I also see a lot of the account management stuff, right? Hey, the ad isn't up right, or, hey, we like the,
support.
The support. We'd like the ad read to read a little bit different, or you got the link wrong, or, things like that. That's all easily handleable by them. And the way that I'm building that into Podwrench is they would just go in and update the information, and then it would notify the host who's reading the ad that they need to do it differently next time. Or they'd update the image for the banner, and it would just get updated automatically. So all of that, it's essentially just the sales call and answering any questions that go beyond the initial basic, common questions.
Right. I mean, sounds like a non-skilled person could do the research to identify suspects, right?
Yeah.
You could put together a simple criteria for that, and then plugging them into are you automating that outreach then?
Yeah, I'm going to be. So basically at that point, they do the research to identify potential companies, and then do the work to actually find people in the company that, seem likely. And then I'm going to build into Podwrench essentially the routine outreach. So you'll just put their information in, and maybe fill in a couple of other things like, what else are they sponsoring? And so, like if I saw something on Simple Programmer, for example,
right,
and I saw that they're sponsoring you guys, I could just say, okay, well, put that in. Typically I go look at the other podcasts, because that's much more in line with what I'm trying to do.
Right.
And so it's like, I'd put it in and I'd be like, hey, I saw that you're sponsoring, the template would say, hey, I saw that you were sponsoring Shop Talk Show, or, or Syntax FM or something. And, we do a podcast in a similar vein, and you'd be able to reach so many more people. And even if you decide you don't want to sponsor one of our shows, or your budget's maxed out, I'd still love to just sit down and brainstorm with you about, what you're looking for and how you can get more of it on their shows, because I feel like I have that to offer. And then if something changes in your budget, then you can come back to us and we can make that work for you. And then the outreach after that would just be, hey, have you thought about doing this kind of thing? Because we have a package for that. And it would just email them every week or two, and just, kind of keep them warm until they either say, quit emailing me, or, they come around. But I'd also put a link in there that basically says, if your budget, is quarterly, then, click here and I won't bug you until, you're coming up on your next cycle.
Right.
Or stuff like that. So then they can actually, if they're interested, but they can't do anything about it right now, they can postpone getting those emails.
So yeah, it sounds like the sales call is really not much of a. Hang on, my son just came in. What's up, Jonah? I'm on video here. What are you doing? No, go out. I should have locked my door. Jonah, I'm on a call. Go.
I forgot to close my door.
Oh my gosh. Let me go lock my door. I'll be right back.
I'm going to close mine too. Hang on.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, so that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm trying to get a real idea of what these roles are going to look like.
Yeah.
And to be honest, and here I go again, talking about the people that work for me. If this pisses you off, go stick your head in a bucket. Fill it up with water, stick it in, and take a deep breath. So anyway, the only issue that I really have with Michelle at this point, she does everything I ask pretty much and gets it done, unless there's some blocker, and that's usually my fault. So the problem is that she doesn't really take the initiative. She doesn't have a lot of creativity on a lot of this stuff. And so, I mean, she'll come to me and she'll say, hey, have you thought about doing this? And, sometimes that's the case. And she'll push back and say, can you automate that? Which is helpful. And, it kind of pushes me to, make things a lot easier. But yeah, I basically hand her a process and she'll follow it. Mm-hmm. She won't invent the process. She won't, and so it's things like I just got a message from her last night, because we're moving off of Pipedrive, because I'm trying to cut expenses. So we're moving off of Pipedrive, and she comes to me and she says, well, where do you want me to start storing new people's information? And we're moving from there to Notion.so.
Okay.
And she could just create a spreadsheet somewhere and stick it in there. And that's essentially what I'm going to tell her to do. But she could do that, and it's easy to move around. And so, I don't know. I don't want to have to worry about details like that and have to answer all the questions.
Right.
Well,
those are kind of like two separate people in a lot of cases. They're like process inventors and process followers, like entrepreneurs. Process inventors are like more of an entrepreneurial trait.
Yes.
And process followers, people that are really good at following the process, usually aren't good at creating it, and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah, I've bugged her to create processes for the stuff that she does, and she really won't. And I don't think it's because she doesn't want to. I think she just is much, like you said, she's much better at implementing it than she is at recording it. And I really need those process documents in. I need those together. So, I mean, she'll give me feedback on the process. If there's something that she thinks should be done differently, she'll tell me. And so, having her go out and do the process is actually really helpful because I get feedback on it. But yeah, right. I have to wind up doing a lot of that stuff. And I'm kind of wondering too, then, like with the sponsorship stuff, I could conceivably just find some local college kid that'll do a lot of the initial outreach and project or support management, stuff like that. And then just write processes for them too. And then my job is essentially to make sure that they know what to do. But at some point, I don't even want to have to be the person that's doing that stuff.
Right.
But if I do that for the next, if I make that my job, Podwrench and processes for the next 3 months, and that's most of what I do, I should be able to get things to the point where I want them. And then managing a lot of these processes won't be so, it won't take up so much of my time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to say about it. It sounds like you would be able to automate the majority of the sales position. In that
Yeah.
case, like if it's not heavy duty relationship building, then maybe you don't actually need somebody who is going to be, because like that's basically like a really good salesperson is a really good relationship person.
Yes. Well, and that's what I've done well with the sales.
Right.
But the second that they reach back out, I just go in and I kill the sequence, right? It's like, okay, now we're actually talking, so let's talk.
Right.
And so, yeah.
So that's where you didn't imagine that person taking over.
Yeah. And yeah, so I would like somebody that can take that bit over. But honestly, it wouldn't take up too much of my time to start doing some of those sales calls.
Right.
But the other thing is I have a few other people that are wanting me to manage stuff for them. And so, yeah, as that grows, then I could bring somebody else in.
Yeah, in my book, like the sales stuff would probably be one of the hardest things and one of the last things that you should let go of.
Yeah, the other thing is that I'm also, the more, excuse me, holy cow, the more I think about this, the more I'm thinking that if I start managing and representing for various podcasts, either just on the sponsorship end or doing the full concierge, I can eventually come in and talk to one of those podcasters and say, hey, look, if you're willing to go out, because a lot of them will do the sales information, they just don't have a big enough platform to get the sponsorship. And so if they want to come in and they want to sell the whole platform, so they're selling dev chat and they're selling basically here's a package with 6 podcasts that reach 20,000 JavaScript developers or whatever, then we can start, then they can take that over, and they're passionate enough about the podcasting and stuff and the to actually do the sales.
Right. I think like probably that is going to be a long, slow process where you're probably going to have all the systems in place, get it really down to it where it's a finely tuned machine, and then bring somebody in and they are like your shadow for 3 months. And
that makes sense. But
they're in on all the calls and you're introducing them to everyone. So it's not like I don't think this is something you can easily just sort of hand off.
I think you're right. The other thing is that, I don't want to bring somebody in and, basically have them thinking they're going to have a long-term job and then automate away everything that I hired them to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So you should probably, one way to hack this would be to basically hire yourself as the salesperson.
Yeah, that's more or less what I've been doing anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But define your role clearly. Think about think about what you should be doing. Think about how the role works if you were not the CEO.
Yep. Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And then build as much as you can, automate as much as you can. And then really you want the job to be commission and self-funding.
Yeah.
So it's not a salaried position.
Yep, exactly. So anyway, should be interesting to see where we end up at, but
cool. Well, yeah, I really I think that, and it seems like over the last year or two, you've really gotten a lot of clarity and a lot of focus.
Yeah.
And your progress has really accelerated as you focused in.
Yeah, but it's been a hard process to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. This is getting clarity and direction is one of the, and honing in on what it is you actually do and what your USP is. That's like some of the hardest work in the business, and it's really easy to just stay busy. Yeah. And keep doing stuff that doesn't matter as much and avoid it because it's so difficult.
Well, it's funny too because it's not just the process and really thinking hard about it. It's an emotional thing too because I get all kinds of wrapped up in what's going on and how it works, and then I have to rethink a lot of it. So
Yep.
So anyway, so how are things over on your end?
They're coming along. I'm hip deep in working on this course launch. So we're going to launch the coding interviews course at the end of the month here. Basically, September 29th and 30th will be I'm going to launch it over a weekend. So those are going to be the launch days, September 29th and 30th. And so I've been very much fighting procrastination and the desire to work on anything but this course because it's intimidating. But yeah, I'm really I'm really excited with how the content's coming together. Jason has a lot of hands-on experience working with coaching developers through the interviews. He's got almost 40 mentees that he's seen all the way through the process of from 0 to hired.
Wow.
So yeah, so he's got a lot of really good hands-on experience that you don't get when you're not working with people day to day. So for him, it's not just theory; it's actually practice. And so this week I've been interviewing. I sent out about 20 emails to interview his former students. So I've interviewed a couple of them. I've got a couple more interviews coming up just to kind of get me some content, some testimonials and stuff that I can use in the promotions. And I finally figured out, I've been really struggling with how to do the launch on this because I feel like for this one I need to have I need more pre-launch content. One thing we've never really done actually with Simple Programmer is really do any kind of pre-launch to warm people up. It's always just been we've just been doing the content. I mean, we just kind of are doing our normal emails and then boom, surprise, we have this new course. It's on sale today. And then we close the cart 4 days later. So for this one, I was going to do a webinar. I really wanted to do a webinar, but I think I'm just out of time. I'm not going to be able to pull it all together in time. So I've decided to do it's going to be a straight email launch. I'm going to do 4 content emails leading up to it, and I'll be talking about Jason, talking about the course, talking about his students, and then a 2-day launch window. So starting the 24th is when it all will kick off. So I still have a ton of stuff to do, and we're still working on the content. So
yeah, I'm curious. So you just do all of your launch stuff in 1 week?
Yeah.
Because I just read Jeff Walker's book Launch.
Yes.
He talks about doing a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought I might get a reaction from you.
I don't know. So Jeff, I've been involved with Jeff Walker launches before, so I kind of know a little bit. Walk through. Do you remember the structure? It's like a multi-week thing, right?
Yeah, he walks you. You do a bunch of pre-launch stuff, and then
so you start off with a survey. Launch. You send out an email, say, "Hey, I'm looking for I'm gathering. I want to put together some content and about such and such a topic." And then you ask they send you a bunch of questions, and then you use some of that for the pre-launch content.
Yeah.
And then there's a format that he does he does the videos. He does the sideways. He calls it the sideways sales letter, where it's like a multi-day video sequence and stuff.
Yeah, it's a 10-day or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it probably wouldn't hurt to do that. Okay, so here's the little bit of a difference. So with a lot of audiences, you are building around a single topic. Right? So you're building a list around, like Josh Duty who I've been emailing this week, he helps software developers negotiate their salaries. So if he's gonna launch a course, it's gonna be about salary negotiation for software developers, which is what everyone signed on to his list for.
Yes.
In that case,
that's not my case.
Right. In that case, hammering your whole list with content on a specific topic for a month it's going to be irrelevant for a lot of people. And the Jeff Walker thing is also kind of it's more for like paid. You're doing like a paid traffic funnel. You have a lead magnet.
Right.
It's more so. It probably wouldn't hurt to do 3 weeks worth of content around something, but with this we're building the course as we go. There's just so much to do to get the thing launched that I haven't seen that dragging out launches really helps at all that much.
Right.
It seems like keeping them shorter doesn't really it doesn't eat into what you actually bring in too much.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of the stuff he talked about was just list building, and so I'm gonna go back through and update all of my list building stuff. Actually, I take it back. I'm gonna go back through and make Michelle go update all my list building stuff, and then and document all that stuff as we're going.
Right.
Because a lot of it I can just I can kind of do the first one and then say, okay, this is how you do it. Go repeat it everywhere else.
Right.
But yeah, then once I have the list building stuff together, then I can start, really pushing things. I also want to start what am I trying to say? I want to start segmenting my list. So start tagging people by what they came in on and things like that. So Then I can push people, because if they're not looking for a job or they're not in that position, then
I guess what I would say on the Jeff Walker stuff is it's really complex. It's a ton of work. I've seen people do launches a lot of different ways, and I kind of have, to me, what the most effective, what I try to end up doing is pulling the most effective tactics out, which are, deadline, open and close, clear offer, good sales page, send a bunch of emails, and the structure of it. I haven't really seen a case where someone's done it one way and done it another way and gone, oh my gosh, this is so much better. It seems like a lot of times those systems are useful when you're just doing it for the first time because you don't know what you have to do. But it's less useful the 10th time you've done it.
Yeah.
So, and I have seen them fail too. So.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. And our Jeff also uses a ton of video stuff, and our audience really does not seem to respond to video.
I think mine might.
I don't know. They might. We just haven't, I've sent out a number of emails with videos to try to gauge, okay, do people actually watch the videos? And it's pretty low. The number of people, it's well under 1% of the people will actually go watch the video, and that's not worth it.
Yeah.
If you're putting your sales message in a video that only 1% of the people are going to actually see, then you're losing most of the audience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you have 20% of people open it and only 1% go, that means you're cutting your effectiveness by 90%.
Yep.
So, but I mean, I have a lot of respect for Jeff because he's obviously, he's been around a really long time and done much better than I have. So, he has a lot of good stuff, but, yeah. So the way I'm looking at this is, I think this class, if this sells reasonably well, we're going to offer this 2 or 3 times a year. And every time we launch it, we'll probably build the Jeff Walker, like we'll probably build it in that direction every time we launch it. Like this next time I do it, I'll probably do a webinar. I mean, and for our audience, every time we've tried to get people to sign up for any kind of live thing, it's always been really underwhelming, the number of people that actually respond. And I think it's because our audience is so spread out. But yeah, I mean, like we'll send, like every time a sponsor has tried to promote a webinar, it's like totally bombed. We've promoted, I mean, totally bombed, meaning like we've sent out like 90,000 emails and we'll get like 30 signups, right? Like you can't do a successful launch off the back of that. I tried to sell that live live LinkedIn webinar and that bombed. We've sent out emails before to try to get people onto live YouTube live streams with John and only gotten like maybe 100 people on it. It was free. Right. So, so the video and webinars just for our particular audience doesn't seem to work as well.
Yeah. I think I'm going to try it. And then we'll see where we end up.
Yep. I want to try it too. It's just, as I was thinking about it, I decided to deprioritize it because I don't really know how it would be a big experiment and I don't know how effective it would be. It'd be a ton of work and I'm not convinced that it would be all that useful.
My issue as far as any of that goes is I'm still drowning as far as time goes. And so, I need to get a lot of this other stuff out of the way first. And then I can go and jump on that stuff when I have time for it.
Yeah. Yep. So, but yeah, so it's going to be, the course is going to be 3 weeks long. And Jason's basically creating all the content and he's like sending me videos and his outlines and stuff that he's created and I'm giving him feedback and he's doing all it's like a weird slow motion tennis match that we're playing. So I was really hoping, coming into this, I was thinking, okay, I really underestimated how difficult it is to structure a course in a way that's consumable, even if you know the material like the back of your hand. Like Jason has this material down really well, but it's been a real struggle for us to work together and put it into some kind of useful, organized format.
Yeah, I've kind of been finding the same thing. I mean, so I signed up for this self-publishing school and they say just write, don't edit. And what I found was that was the way I had to go. And it's also been helpful because I've been able to just, you said I'm basically uploading my brain into the computer and that's more or less what I'm doing. Right. So the book is not extremely cohesive. I need to go back through and actually, work the central message into it. And that's the plan once I have sort of the rough drafts of all the chapters done. And then then I can come back around and tie it all together. And what I'm hoping to do at that point is, when I tie it all together, then I can go back and I can do the videos and have that central theme already in mind.
Right.
And so, I'm kind of thinking that every time I do a course now, I might actually write an ebook for it, even if it's a really, really short one. And that way it's, hey, look, here's what you have to think about. And here's the central message and kind of create a story arc for it. So one of the things that I'm going to be adding into this, because right now it's here's a tactic. And, I'm going to go back through. I have an accountability partner for my book writing. And I was talking to him and he's telling a story about becoming a hotshot, which is one of these wildfire firefighters that they fly all over the West to fight the wildfires, like the one that we have right south of the county here now. My brother's actually on a voluntary evacuation.
Oh, wow.
Getting close to, and they live in the city. They live right by the high school.
Oh man.
But anyway, so yeah, so he goes and fight. He used to go and fight those fires, and he's kind of telling his story. And yeah, it was like, oh, so you're doing the hero's journey. And I kind of realized that I need to pull some of those elements into my
Yep.
stuff, right?
Yep.
And you guys, same thing with your course, right? You can kind of do the same thing, hero's journey. It's like, hey, look, you have these monsters to slay before you can get a job as a programmer or whatever.
Right.
And so yeah, a lot of that'll tie it all together and wrap it up nicely.
Yeah, see, that's part of the challenge too. Is with John, that John had like brought all that kind of built in. We had John's story as like the thing that everything could tie to, and so actually, like for this launch, I'm not really going to have that story arc.
Yeah,
and
but
that's
if you
where
can find it with somebody else.
Yeah. Well, so when we do this launch multiple times, what you can do is and Jeff Walker is a good example. He's relaunched Product Launch Formula probably 10 times now. And every time you do it, you refine the content, and then you pull in success stories from people who did it previously.
Yep.
So what we're doing now is the first one is the hardest one, because you don't have the content. You got to make all the content. What you're really with what you were describing with the book was interesting, because what I found is that you're actually, when you draft like that, you're actually developing your shtick almost. Like it's like a comedian who's just writing a bunch of jokes and trying to put a routine together. Like you're figuring it all out. You don't actually know what you're going to teach, and you're figuring it out. It's like somebody I'll tell Jason, like he'll throw a term in there and I'll be like, well, what do you even mean by this? Like he used this term, the face behind the mask. And it's like one of the key concepts that he uses to help build confidence, but he'd never really articulated it. He used the phrase, but he never really articulated what it meant. So then he had to like go spend half an hour thinking about what it actually means and fleshing it out. And that's where a lot of the work in putting something like this together comes from.
Yeah, I identify with that too, because as I was writing the book, I kind of stumbled on a couple of terms that I keep using. And, so one of them's targeting, which is pretty straightforward if you think about it, but still it's, I have to define it for the book, where you're actually, focused on a particular company, and, your efforts are aimed at getting you, attention at that company. The other one's like your top 3, and it's basically your top 3 priorities in the job that you want as you're identifying the job. And I kind of stumbled into that, and I never did go back and actually say, when I say top 3, this is what I mean. Or when I say targeting, this is what I mean. And so I need to do that too. But the future chapters all have that spread through it. And so I just need to go back and
you develop your own like lingo and your own set of stories and analogies that you use to explain things. And
but that's just part of the process that I'm going through. But yeah, so I'll go back in and I'll make all of that come together, and then I'll probably hire somebody to edit it and tell me what I missed.
Right.
But it's the same thing. And I think anybody who, like, if you're doing like really quick shots, and this is something that John could get away with on YouTube, right? He talks for 20 minutes. You don't go so deep that you're actually creating your own terminology. But on something with enough content like a book or a long video course or things like that, you wind up doing that.
Yep. So, you mentioned an accountability partner. I should probably do that with this project, because it's actually been, I'm making steady progress on it, but I'm starting to get freaked out now because my self-imposed deadline is coming up, and so I probably would benefit from finding somebody to just like give them my goals every day and keep them updated on what I actually get done. So,
yeah, 2 things that I find work better on that is if they have a similar project that they're working on.
Yeah.
And you have to find somebody who will bust your chops if you don't deliver.
Right. Yeah, I should probably do that. but yeah, otherwise we reran the plural site. This week I just reran the plural site promotion that we did last year, which I was super curious about because last year we ended up making about $45,000 in commissions off of that. So I was hoping. So what we did, like this year, we've rerun now two. I'm actually looking at our open and click rates for that campaign real quick. But we reran two different campaigns that we had done last year. So I got a really good kind of like before and after with John leaving and all the kind of things we've seen happen with our list. And oh man. Well, so the open rates actually, wow, the open rates have been really good on those. We got a 20% open rate, which right now for our list, that's really, really good. But our actual conversions are like a third of what we got last time around. So same emails, same lists effectively. And we've made about a third as many sales. So yeah, so I think that it's been a little bit helpful to see that between that and Interview Cake, for me to go, okay, this isn't something stupid that I did where I like somehow going to WooCommerce broke our sales funnel or something, which I've had in the back of my head, like, okay, when I switched, like, did I cause something here? And it really doesn't seem like it. It seems like just everything that we've done since January has been like half to a third as effective as it used to be. So including the third-party promotion. So Interview Cake, I think we did about a third of what we did last year. And then this plural site thing, same emails, same schedule, everything the same. And third as many sales. We're actually only making like the actual income. Plural site reduced our commissions on it. So we're actually only making about a tenth as much as we made on it last time. So yeah, so it's kind of a drag, but it is what it is. And the membership really, like, it just kind of reinforces my determination to focus on keep the focus on that membership. And really this course is going to feeds into the membership. So everyone who signs up for this course is going to be enrolled in the membership for 12 months. And all of the homework and everything is going to happen. All the coaching will happen in the community, directly in the community, so that they're going to be exposed to that, and they're going to be used to going there and getting help and everything. Yep. So if this goes well, like I am hoping for about 250 sales. If I can hit 250 sales, that would be a big success for this, and it would double our membership. So it would be a really big win for that too. So we'll see. I have to actually get it launched.
Well, good luck.
Yeah. I'm pretty nervous about it because this is really the biggest thing I've done, like post John. This is my first attempt at launching a course. So I'd like, if 250 sales would put me, that would be the biggest single promotion that we've ever done. So that's what I'm shooting for.
Gotcha. So I have one more thing that I've been looking at. And you've been using WooCommerce, so I'm just curious.
Oh yeah.
I had somebody email me, and he said that he had bought something on September 1st. And the order status changed to processing.
Okay.
But it doesn't say that it actually completed the process of.
Did he use PayPal?
I'm looking at that right now.
I bet
you. He paid.
Yes.
He paid via PayPal.
Yes. PayPal sucks it for WooCommerce. So what I ended up doing, probably like 2/3 of the PayPal transactions don't ever complete. I'm
Right.
using the PayPal IPN setup, and most
Okay.
of them just stay as processing. So I was getting so many of them because we do like at least like around 300 transactions a month. And I was getting so many of them that what I ended up doing was I found a way. I'm looking at our WooCommerce now. I need to remember how I did this, but I found a way to add to the bulk editing menu. Basically, I just manually changed them.
Okay. So you just periodically go and update them.
Yes. You'll also get people that start the checkout process with PayPal and never complete it, and those are listed as pending.
Okay.
So what I do is and those will never, like, they'll never complete. They're just they bailed on the checkout. So those, I created a new status called unpaid. That just like, because then if you leave it as pending payment, WooCommerce kind of thinks that the money's coming, because a lot of times people might be paying with a check or something like that. So in our case, like if it doesn't get paid right away, it's never going to get paid. So I created an unpaid order status to just get rid of those. It's effectively canceled, but
yeah,
it's just like a custom one. And then I just manually mark the other ones completed. So you can, I'm not sure if you can do it under bulk actions by default. Like you can check it, you can check the box and then go to bulk actions and mark
you can
completed. Okay.
Change status to completed. So do you bother verifying that people have paid?
No, I don't, because
you
like
if all the processings to completed.
Yeah, I did check it a bunch early on, and it seemed like they were all coming through. So
yeah, I have one that came through as canceled.
Okay.
So I think this person just went in and.
Yeah, so if you create an account, I think the cancel means that they created an account in WooCommerce, and then their order was listed as pending, and they went in and they manually canceled it.
Okay.
I don't think there's another. You can have it get canceled if there's like I think if there's a PayPal dispute or something, it can get automatically marked canceled, but otherwise processing never completes. It just sits there. I tried, there's some plugins you can get. There's one that I got called what is it? I'm looking at it now. It like let's see here. There's one that's supposed to order status control. It's supposed to let you change the order status to complete for virtual orders when payment is successful. But the problem is it's never marked successful because it never completes.
All right. Well, I might spend a little bit of time trying to figure out what's going on, but
yeah, if you were able to get the IPN working, that would be. I'd love to know how you did it. I didn't really try to debug it so much. I tried to make sure I had it set up correctly. I believe I have it set up correctly.
Yeah, I'm just worried that I'm going to wind up with a whole bunch of orders and then people in a position where they can't access stuff. So
yeah. I think that the processing step is like, I think that you're getting some communication back from PayPal to get it to the processing step.
I think so too.
And then there's just a final step that doesn't get fired. That is like, they've paid, and PayPal's like, okay, they're paying now. And then, because if they just like click over to PayPal, start the checkout, and then just close the browser window, that's when they get left as unpaid or left as pending.
Yep. But I've had 15 book pre-orders, so they're getting the rough drafts, and I've got a note in there that basically says, hey, this is a rough draft, this is what I'm doing, I'm just brain dumping, so it's not going to be well connected, but it has all the tactics and strategies that you're going to want, and eventually I'll go back and clean it up. So and people have been pretty happy. I'm delivering essentially 2 chapters every week, so
nice. That's cool. Make it like a serial.
There we go. Yeah, what I may do is I may actually start seeing if I can put together webinars. And I may actually give the list a chance to segment itself, so I'll just give people a link where they can click through to get the tag for, I'm interested in the, finding my dream job, and then I'll just keep bugging them with the webinars and stuff if I have enough people opt over.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I keep taking over. You're trying to talk about your stuff, and I'm like, oh, and I might do this.
That's all right. I think I'm good.
Well, I hope your launch goes well. I'm really curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, me too. This will be different. So far, the only things I've done without John have been the membership, and that has gone fairly well. But it's also it's very difficult because I'm building. It's like there was nothing there. I was selling nothing. I was selling air initially because I had to get people in before there was anything to sell. Really, and so this will be the first kind. This has a lot more substance to it, so it will be. It should be a good test of like where we actually are.
Yeah.
List, and I definitely have been seeing like signs of. I feel like people are starting to respond well to the emails. I've been getting like people emailing me and saying like, I was really skeptical when I saw your name pop up the first time, but now I kind of think of you as, partner with John, like it, and then I had somebody in the membership group. I did a video response to a question and the guy was like, I would totally pay for webinars that you host and run. So that was pretty cool. I've had a few of those now. Like every time I do a video response in the forum, like it tends to get a couple comments like that. So I think it's moving. It's going slow, but
yep.
Thoughts?
I mean, for me, it's just the main thing that I've been going through lately is be willing to challenge what you think is the way things are. I talked last week a little bit about switching to live ad reads during the show, and I'm still going back and forth as to whether or not I want to charge extra for that. But the thing is that, and this is something that came up in, I'm reading another book called Scale.
Okay. I think I've heard that one.
And, they talk about essentially scaling up, and the example they gave was that, Apple invented the iPod, and the iPod just took off, and they were making money hand over, and then saying, oh, well, let's keep building better iPods, which is what a lot of people do. And that's what I was doing with sponsorships and things for quite a long time. They said, eventually this capability is going to go to phones. And so they went and they invented a phone that did it, and invented the iPhone. And now the iPhone makes some money hand over fist. And yeah, I wasn't paying attention, and it turned out that the market shifted, and there were a few people that had a different idea of what they should be getting from me. And, and I didn't realize that. So, be looking at your market, and then be looking at, what could disrupt you, what could cause your marketing to go to zero, what could cause your offering to not be worth as much, and then step into that space and, challenge your thinking a bit.
Yeah. That's really good. That's good. I think mine is going to be that we tend to procrastinate on the things that are most important.
Yep.
If you're feeling resistance and like not wanting to work on stuff, and decide to spend all morning installing a Wi-Fi thermostat instead of working on your marketing stuff for your new course, then
that's a fairly specific example.
Yeah.
Somebody doing that
just off the top of my head, it was just yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I got a so I just brief story. So I installed a Wi-Fi thermostat yesterday, and I had previously had in my old house, I had a Nest, right? And I hated the Nest because it was smart. It was like, it had supposed learning capabilities and was supposed to come up with this intelligent schedule. In reality, it just took a bunch of random inputs from me and randomized them and cast the randomization into stone. So it was like always doing really erratic things, and I'd change it and it would change things back, and it was a nightmare. I hated it. So I decided to just go with a straightforward. I want something where I can set a schedule and like use my phone to just turn the temperature up and down.
Right.
And so I got a Honeywell. Well, so Nest very clearly had put a lot of effort into their onboarding process, and their setup process was clearly designed by user interface experts and marketers. Honeywell's was designed by engineers. And it was, so I thought it would take me 15 minutes yesterday to set this thing up, and it ended up taking me 3 hours. It was just utterly ridiculous. So I actually had to actually rewire part of my furnace to make it work.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I had the furnace panel off, and I was like, I had the power off, and I'm like poking around in the furnace, and then, but then the setup process was like, you had to like, hold down 6 buttons and punch in this code, and then you had to set the display to 39 and 1. Like there was these, these numbers you had to, and then like it would magically go into Wi-Fi setup mode, and then you had to punch the MAC address into a phone, and it was, I mean, oh my gosh, it was so, I cannot imagine a civilian setting this thing up. And it was, it was, and then I actually had to call their tech support, and fortunately they put me on hold. I was caller number 13 in the queue. And so I made lunch while I like sat there and waited on hold. But so anyway, but if you find yourself setting up your Wi-Fi thermostat instead of working on your project, then probably what you're doing is pretty important.
Yeah, it's funny because I do the same thing. Like if the stakes are extremely high, like the only reason I'm writing this book is because I forced myself to start and get some momentum, and now I'll just sit down and do it. But yeah, it's like, well, what if this fails? And even if I'm not specifically thinking it, I have enough in my subconscious going through all the worst case scenarios that, if I'm tired or I don't want to deal with it, I will go do something that's a whole lot less important.
Yep. That has been my week. I've made progress, but I've made about 25% of the progress that I should have made this week. So,
well, you should open it up to pre-orders and then let a whole bunch of people schedule time with you for it, and then you'll have to show up. I mean, that's essentially what happened to me with a lot of these podcast recordings.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, hopefully we'll be back in full force next week.
Yeah, I think so. Week after next, I will be in Orlando.
Oh yeah.
I might be traveling that day. I still don't have travel details because they always book my travel like right up to the wire. It's a little bit ridiculous, but yeah. So yeah, if I'm not traveling, I'll be here in 2 weeks.
Cool.
Or, but next week I should be fine.
Alrighty. I'll see you then, I guess.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Want to start a business, but you just know how to code. Listen to John, Josh, and Derek as we figure it out. We are the EntreProgrammers, and we'll teach you straight up to be developreneurs.